We'll knock them up on agenda. It's a short agenda, what we said, like that.
It's a short agenda because I've been shirking my duty.
It's too cold.
What's that?
Yeah, this climate is too cold.
Do we have anybody on the Zoom or are we just doing?
Not on Zoom. I know Michelle said she'd like to.
Yeah, there are.
Well, maybe we do have somebody on YouTube.
There's somebody.
Well, let's see.
It's a short agenda, what we said, like that.
Somebody have YouTube open or Zoom open? Because we're hearing ourselves. That's an interesting problem.
Somebody else.
No, I heard Gary. Okay, that's.
It's to watch it.
Change our speaker. We'll go. Starts making noise, I'll mute it.
All right, we'll welcome everybody to the May edition of the Wade Amateur Radio Club. And I think we'll start with introductions. So we'll start up here at the front.
Steve Penrod, KCA MIW.
I'm Eric Mast, WELM.
I'm Doug Kilo Hickley, Juliet November Hotel.
Tom and a JBG.
Dwayne, Whiskey Delta, Bravo, Victor.
Stan, NARMK.
Aaron, KEALVA.
Bill, WDK, let me start over again. WDK.
Gary, W8GMF.
Jerry, Kilo Charlie 8, Hotel Delta Papa.
Lee, N8LFK.
Mike, can you back away?
If anyone wants.
Let's see, repeater trustee, Gary Foster.
I haven't done anything, haven't really heard.
That's good. We haven't needed anything yet. Got the noise level down.
I do have the 440 preamp ready to go on. I just have, I've got, it's ready to go now. Has not been installed.
Any questions for Gary? Wayne Aries, Skywarn, you guys can hash it out, I guess, on the Skywarn. Doug, you want to take the?
Or as far as the area side of things, no significant events took place in the past month. Just a couple of reminders of some upcoming things. Last month, we talked about the Ashland County EC looking for volunteers for the 100-mile run. Still looking for that. Those that might be interested can reach out. I'd send an email out on that previously. Joe Villegas, the EMA director, he has submitted his resignation. He's taking apparently a better paying job, but he's going to stay in the area here. So he's leaving on good terms. And nothing bad happened or anything like that. He just had a better opportunity come his way. And it will remain to be seen who the replacement is. That position is appointed by the Wayne County Commissioners, but it's not an election or anything like that. So they've advertised or put bolded out that they're looking for a new EMA director. Barb Pittard, who is the deputy director, she has expressed that she's interested in the position. So time will kind of tell on how that plays out. Most of you know that the club presented both the commissioners and the EMA with a plaque essentially thanking them for their support for the amateur radio group over the past 30 plus years, or perhaps more than that. So I guess that was timely right before he left. We recognized that Joe and Barb both actually recognized their office there. There is, and we'll pass these around. Last time we ran into some technical difficulties. So I went old school and made handout type things. There's some training coming up in a couple of weeks, May 26th. It's online training. It's put on by Ohio Homeland Security. It'll be in a Microsoft Teams format, so it's similar to Zoom, but different. It seems like the state of Ohio prefers this Teams format, and it works essentially the same way. But what it's really designed for is to make public agencies aware of the types of resources that amateur radio folks can provide. So this is open. Again, it's primarily for law enforcement groups, fire departments, those types of things. But you can see on there that they also encourage amateur radio folks to participate. The nice thing about this is it's essentially an information sharing type of a thing. So there's no testing. You can still take notes, but they're not going to test you on the knowledge. Looks like it lasts 3 or 4 hours. So those that are interested, it's a little bit of a convoluted process to sign up for it. Some of you may have signed up for similar things and already have an account with the Ohio Emergency Management Group. It's all certainly doable. So I'd encourage you to participate in that if it works out for you. The past several years, we have participated in the Worcester Voodoo race. They didn't have it this year, so big kind of waiting around for that type of an event to take place. For whatever reason, no Worcester Voodoo, which was a bicycle running race that was held out at Oak Hill Park and down to the Overton Valley. So otherwise, that's all I have.
Anything for Skywarn?
No, Scott. Gary had a question.
When is Joe's official last? Do we know?
I think it might be next Tuesday.
He may well be gone before this.
Yes.
He
Yeah,
is,
I
so
suspect,
do you think Barbara will be interim at least until they pick one? Or?
yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
But just to clarify, there's no reason to contact them.
I understand it.
But they were like the local point of contact.
Right.
You sign up on the website. State.
Any other questions?
I will touch on this just briefly. If somebody wants to be part of this and they have problems getting signed up or don't want to sign up for whatever reason, we can meet as a group at my office and watch it there.
For 4 hours?
Yeah.
I guess it's good to be the boss.
After 40 years, I tend to kind of do what I need to do. So.
All right, well, we did present the plaques to the commissioners and to the EMA, and they were very surprised and appreciative. So that took place, and I have a couple pictures that Dan Sargent took. I'll try to get those to you if you want to put that in. Yeah. So,
I will say that Joe and Barb both, I talked to them today and they wanted me to pass on the thanks for the cleanup that happened up at the comm center, because group of the year didn't want to go up there and pressure wash it. This looks remarkable, really does.
it's ongoing, yeah.
The birds will come back.
They're squatters.
All right, that's all I have by way of reports, unless anybody else has something that they would like to say. All right, field day is coming up, so we don't have too long to do planning for that. If anybody has any suggestions, we've talked about a couple other venues, possibly down at the Justice Center, or maybe looking for set up. The comm center, we had some noise last year, and we'll be doing some checking on that, but something to be thinking about, because next month we'll have to make the decision.
What's the date? What's the date?
Oh, I don't have it right with me, but it's the last
Last full weekend in June, right?
the fourth full weekend.
Fourth full weekend. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the fourth full weekend. So, Last year, we used the off-center fed antenna and the kite antenna. The vertical.
Yeah, well, they call it a slot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I did not ever buy the stuff for the double slot that us wanted to, or the big one, so.
Yeah. And it worked reasonably well. And we had the triplexer and the bandpass filters last year, so we operated 3 bands, 80, 40, and 20 on the same antenna. So that's available again this year.
We did not put up a 6 meter beacon.
No.
That might be good this year, because 6 meters really.
6 meters is gonna start coming back and.
June 25th and 26th. I assume probably want to use the same logging software as we did for Winterfield.
That really worked well, yeah. Well as can be expected. Anyway, I had a couple of glitches, but,
Those were less of a software glitch and more of a RF getting into computer stuff.
Yeah.
Most of it. I thought the software worked
and
very well.
we're planning to mount the triplexer, the bandpass filters on aluminum plate and get a good ground for those too, so that might, I don't know if that will help any or not.
Got a dipole electric with hand fetches. You wind it up to Justin. Has it around
What band,
anyone,
what,
any,
what's it?
you just pull the wires out
Oh, you just pull it out to get
and
the,
then you reel them back to the finish.
well, that off-center fed works pretty well, it's pretty low SWR across those 3 bands, so.
I think it would have, if we didn't have the noise, it would have done fairly well.
Would have done a lot better, yeah. Anything else? Any other comments or
Well,
suggestions?
about field day or?
Yeah, field day first of all. and then-
Looking for suggestions of where to go. I mean, this,
How about the park out by Jeff? Up by Jefferson, we used to go out there all the time.
where?
Up by Jefferson.
Jefferson, west of us.
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, I've ever been out there.
Take a drive out, back in and take a look, see.
Well, test a little for noise too.
We,
It used to be used quite a bit, but you guys, right? There's no buildings or anything for air conditioning, right?
we used to get the com vehicle out there.
Yeah, we can't do that now, especially with go up and move on.
Don't know if we'll ever be able to do that again.
I think they put restrooms out there, like, in that area.
Might be able to find somebody with campers and set up out there.
They put up a couple of
Or
tents.
put up a couple tents. I got 18 by 20
The club has that.
awning.
The club has that tent.
Well, they do, I didn't know that.
Got a camper I can bring, as long as I can get it from the wife and kids that weekend.
It'd be nice to have AC at least to be able to go in and out a little bit.
So
You used to have good like out of Spain, but right?
I think the one we have is 12 by 20. Set it up.
mine's, what did I say? 18 by 20, I think. But there's no sides, you know,
Doesn't have
we had to
sides.
get, we just get some.
Let's start
tarps
signing.
to put them up there.
Here's might be easy, ours, you have to put the poles up and put the cover on.
All right, that's a possibility. Anything else?
There's probably not, out there at the park or most parks, there's not gonna be electric you can plug into, right?
Well,
Like for a portable air, like
oh, for.
put an air conditioner in a tent or each kind of.
You can do that with a generator,
Yeah,
if they'll let you
You're
run.
supposed to work up.
We got plenty of generators.
Conditioners.
I didn't say I did, very one is air conditioner, I don't blame.
What's that? Yeah. Well,
You
they say
never know.
depends on the weather. We never want to be able to get out of the rain. I mean, I don't, we've already set up just outside. If we go to all trouble, set up antennas and stuff, we'd like to be able to operate, I think. So,
Oak Hill is gonna be too busy up that way.
It's a possibility.
I've never checked it, but I highly suspect it's very noisy. With that substation right on the road.
We really need.
Really high tension lines,
Check some of
yards
your.
away. I don't know if you've ever checked it there or not. You know where O'Hare Park is?
Yeah.
Up by the high school.
Not, I've driven through there on I'm sure, with the radio on.
It's straight west of the town center.
The time zone.
Worcester just seems to be, sometimes areas I'll drive through got a lot of noise, and other times you go through the same area, there's no.
Right. Well, there's an arc somewhere that we had last year, and I've heard it at home.
Once Spangler, you have to reserve it.
Yeah, we will check all that out. I
In
think,
advance, way in advance.
yeah.
I would like to have one,
Weekend like that.
but the other thing I think we need, besides how serious we're gonna be, we would just wanna run like on Saturday, especially if we set up tents and stuff.
Yeah,
You know, if no one's gonna spend the night, we don't wanna go off and leave the tents set. And
right.
now, if he gets his camper out there, someone can stay with him, but, you know, I don't know how his wife is, but my wife had plans.
Well, I'd like to meet with the officers after the meeting and after the program tonight and set up a date for the executive committee. So, if we hang around for just a few minutes, and prepare schedules, and get that taken care of. And then we'll handle a lot of those things through there. Anything else that you want? Yeah, that's right.
There's several new people here. Has everybody got their little cards that you guys passed out last month? Is everybody even aware of them?
I don't have any, I didn't bring anything.
I have some in my car.
I actually, I do too.
What cards?
So.
Well, that's the thing. You're not aware of them. We've got club cards now.
You were here last
He's got
time.
one for everybody.
Yeah, Wayne and Stan weren't here last month. Did everybody else? get-
Jerry wasn't here, but I think he got some.
Yeah. he got-
Did you get any?
Mike did, yeah.
Or Mike.
Okay,
They're nice, and you can put your own name on the back and everything, Stan.
thank you, Aaron and Doug for.
Yeah, they're super nice. And maybe I was out of line, but I gave one to all the commissioners.
Oh, no, that's what we got them for.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and they seem to appreciate it.
Business cards,
Yeah, I'll show you one.
$5 for 100.
$50 for 500. I think it was. It's got the work, frequencies. Yeah. I might have a couple, but we'll get you a number.
Yeah, we've been,
And I look on the back, they have a place you can put your name in.
so if you see someone that's interested in radio, you just give them a card.
Yeah.
Or they can get a hold of the club and. Or if you find a place for staff field day.
All right, anything else to bring before the group? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just a minute. I do have one. I'm still on the Ashland Amateur Radio Club email. And it didn't go through their EC, so you probably didn't hear about it. They're looking for some volunteers to work at the Ashland County Fair parking cars. So if anybody's interested, you can get a hold of Randy Ring. His call sign is Kilo Echo 8, Oscar Victor November. KEAOVN.
This is at the fair,
Yeah, the Ashland County Fair.
and that's the week before.
That is the September 18th through the 24th. It's always the week after.
Week after.
Is that an email you got?
Yeah,
If you forward it to one of us, we'll put it out on the announce list too.
Maybe say, like, put a post on the website too.
Or you can put it on the website, yeah.
All right, very good. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Everybody wants to stay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
At 6:54.
KNAWDK, second.
Second.
GMF, here.
Now we go to the presentation.
By consensus, unless there is an objection, we are now adjourned. Thanks, everybody, and Doug is gonna make an effort and see if our AV equipment area cooperates tonight, and we'll learn a bit about wind.
Please, that was the, actually, amateur radio club that was asking for the operator.
You got the call.
I'll forward the email to somebody.
Aaron did the investment, right?
Aaron,
All right.
Aaron, or Tom.
And as Eric stated, I was making an attempt to do the presentation. We made an attempt or had a plan last time, but technical glitches held that up. I did get to speak to several of you that were here in the room about it. There's several here tonight that were not part of that, so I'll kind of rehash that part of things. Any more that if you're doing a presentation, you feel obligated, you have to have some type of PowerPoint to go along with it. So I do that. WinLink, for those that may not know, is a way to send conventional email through HF radio. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this, and you can do HF, you can use VHF. I'm just going to talk about the HF way. I want to talk about the way that I do it. And keep in mind that, yeah, there's a lot of other ways to do it other than what I want to talk about. But when you think about an emergency situation and getting messages in or out of an emergency area, you think of email, if the internet goes down, how is the email going to work? Well, it's not going to. But what we're going to be talking about here tonight is using our radios to get messages out of an area and get those messages hundreds of miles away to a server there to where they can be delivered at another location. Likewise, we can receive the same way. WinLink is just that, think of it that way, as a way to use your radio when there's no internet to send email. And in my opinion, one of the big advantages of that, as opposed to some of the other ways of passing digital messages with radio, is you only need a radio operator on one side of the message. So if we're doing something using another mode, if we use like FL Digi to transmit messages or Olivia or modes similar to that, we're counting on that message being received with a radio operator someplace else. With email, I can email myself if I wanted to. I can use my radio to send an email and receive it on my regular Gmail account, for example. Or I can use my radio to send it to somebody with a Gmail account or any other email account in any other area of the world. So it doesn't have to be received by another radio operator. And that's kind of a big deal in my opinion. If you're placed in this spot for where you are being asked to get messages in or out of an area where there is no internet service. But we really have grown to depend on the internet to share our information. And in a big disaster situation, there may not be internet access available. When we talk about using 2-meter radios for the use of WinLink, you can do that. The issue that I have with that is if I'm close enough to an area where I can reach it with my HT and I'm transferring WinLink messages, the internet's probably going to be down there anyway as well. So I'm able to send it other ways. You get what I'm saying? HF, I use I do most of my WinLink stuff with my 705, and I do most of it with 5 watts. So it works well that way despite the low power. If I was really had to get it out, I wouldn't be playing with 5 watts, I'd use more. But since I'm not sending life or death messages, I impress myself by sending it with 5 watts and seeing how far that I can do it. And you'll see some of that here as we go on. Now, when this topic kind of came my direction, several people that have ICOM 7300s were talking about how do you do it. So my presentation is kind of geared towards the ICOM 7300, but obviously you don't have to have that radio to do it. But that's what I have. I have the 7300 and 705. So some of the settings you're going to see here are designed for those radios. You'll have to change your settings to do this yourself. But I find it strangely rewarding to send the email messages this way. I don't know why. I just kind of find it fun. You'll go there. You'll see here that there's a list of frequencies that you can choose, and it shows you how many kilometers they are away. And I tend to be clicking on the ones that are farthest away just to see if I can make contact with them. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but almost always you get the message to go through. Obviously, different frequencies for different times of the day. And the program will allow you, it will make a suggestion on from based off of where you're located onto which frequency and which server essentially that you want to send it to. Let's click to the next slide here. Next slide.
What did that do?
Yeah, there we go. So the first thing you're going to do, I doubt, again, I was anticipating failure with the equipment here. So I went old school and printed out the step by step table and passed it around. I went old school. The first thing you're going to need is to download WinLink Express. And again, remember, there's other ways to do this. I'm just sharing the way I do it and the way that works for me. If you do this, it should work for you. But the first thing you want to do is download this. This is what the website looks like. You want WinLink Express, and I use VAR HF. So there's two things you're going to download. You're going to do the WinLink Express and the VAR. Both of these are free. You do not have to pay any money for the software. VAR does have a paid version that allows the information to go faster, but you can use this, the free version, the paid version, I think $70. The free version is just that, it's free, works as a little software.
Is it a $70 a year subscription or is that a
One time. So, yeah, this is obviously, you gotta have the software to make it work, but it goes in without any must or fuss. Go to the next one. All right, if you're already doing like FT8 and those digital modes, there's really not much more you're gonna have to do. When you plug into a 705, when you plug your cable in, there's a little icon up at the top that says, what is it, con. It shows you that you're plugged into your computer. On the 7300, it doesn't do that, but you'll hear the ding sound when you plug in your computer to your radio. But I might have these out of order. Go to the next one. Now, go back where we were. There's like a slide that's missing here. Go back one more. This one here. This is the one I need to talk about first. For whatever reason, it's not formatted right. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have the proper drivers in your computer for your radio. Because it can cause you all kinds of frustration if you don't have the proper icon drivers in the radio. And if it's not an icon radio, obviously you gotta have the right drivers. Because what will happen is if you don't have the right drivers and you plug that cable in there, nothing happens. And you'll just be frustrated. So the first step is put the proper drivers in. The second step, I've got this outlined in the printed material here. Second step, of course, is to get the proper software. Then when you plug it in, things should start happening. Go to the next one. These are the settings for my radio. When you go into the menu on the 7300, this is the way that I have mine set up. I'm not saying that others wouldn't work, other ways may not work, but this is what works on my radio. I set up my computer and my radios, my 705 and my 7300, that are very almost identical radios, only one's a QRP radio. And this, where is that here? Where you see CIV address 94H, that is the default address on the 7300. You're probably not going to have to change that. The address is A4H on the 705. I've changed my 705 to be this. That way I have one set of settings. I don't have to fool with it. It works totally fine. Again, if your settings are different than this, it may work totally okay for you, but this is the way I do it. And I'm not saying my way is better. I'm just saying this works on my radio. and my computer, and it should work on yours as well. Next one. When you do this, it's kind of hokey on how this is formatted here. I don't know what happened, but you're going to want to look and see what COM port your radio is. And when you click on this, you're going to see two. And you're going to want the one that's on top, the first one. The other one's the GPS on the radio. You just want to know what that COM port is, because when you go to the next screen, you're going to need to plug that into this right here. This is the actual settings on the software. So this is what it should look like. Again, maybe yours will be, and yours probably will not be COM 4. It might be COM 13, 16, or something else. That's where you have to know what the COM port is. And then set that here. I usually set my baud rate with as high as I can. It works fine. Serial port 7300. And that's all I need to do for that right there. Now, this is going to be a video, and we are not going to watch 20 minutes of video. I mean, this is a long video, but this is an actual session off of my radio. I had one camera pointed at my radio. This is the screen. You see that this screen looks very much like any other email screen, because that's what this is. You've got your outbox, inbox type of things. At this point, this is all empty. If you look, once you get this set up and you're ready to do it, if you look at the notes, it says go into this screen, in the upper right-hand corner, you see where it says open session, and that box there, that's a drop-down box. It gives you different modes that you can drop down right up here at the very top, right here. So, because we've downloaded the VARA, that's the way I do it. And you're going to click that. So when you first start it may not say VARA. It might say RDOF or other things, but you want to say VARA HF WinLink. And in the setup session, I have that spelled out better in the notes than what I did on here. There's a few other steps you're going to have to take. So this screen here is actually a video of me doing a session. And you're going to see what happens. You're going to see a bit of it here where it's not successful, where I don't make contact with it. And actually, this session here is about a month old. This is what I had ready to go the last time. So let's just click that. And like I said, we're not going to watch this whole thing. We'll fast forward, but I want you to get an idea of what this looks like.
Okay, so we have set up the first program without being placed now live with our radio. And we're going to have the session, which is exactly what it is called. You see it in the top where it says open session. And it gives us some different options. We're going to use file for winning. And you can see that now we're in the actual session. And we're going to make the channel selection.
My fault. That noise will go away here in a minute.
And that's the best channel. We click on that. And see what happens.
Now we're on the lower side.
Okay, so if we click best channel, you in the radio that actually is making recommendation to TN.
Just on.
And we were going to
See this item there, say 3565.
channel is not always going to be the best channel to have this place from It is about 8:30 on Wednesday evening, so we're now going to be operating on 80 computers. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and start.
It says that channel's busy.
And it says that which sometimes happens, so we'll keep that. And those little channels, and all the channel selection. And if you have the level of tune up. And select which we will use. This time wise, we're going to go with K-4, LTV, looks like we might have 6 kilometers away, and doing 6 kilometers away. And the vortex tunnel. It is also busy. This is real world tonight. We make it happen. And that's what we do. Can we kilometers away? It's
You can see on the radio, sensing this, trying to make contact.
making calls. When they contact you, it's a 100% type of situation. I actually remember that on 3 years. Starting this. We're talking about now.
What's that for clicking noise?
That's very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Stations. Really go
As I recall, make contact on this
this one. NSK to choose up and they're our sports. Okay.
Yeah, tonight I'm doing this, look at the noise level. That's the sound of it. There it is up to that. 814 kilometers away.
Now telling me they're going to contact the station 814 kilometers away. Now it's going to be quiet and
It will tell you the number of minutes you have. It's not indefinite, but it's all you're ever gonna need, like per day. Just say you've got like 90 minutes left with this station. In this case, it says it's limited to 60 minutes.
So it's the station that limits the time.
Just to avoid somebody. So what I'm saying, this bar right across here, you'll see it start turning and turn green, and it'll work its way across. But it goes back and cycles back and forth. So that energy. Okay. That's received. Send, receive. These are the messages that are coming in right here. Otherwise, that's what we're not going to read the messages here. The messages are going to be in my inbox, my email inbox. But I can see green bar coming across. My messages are going out. The bar will go over this way. You see it here? You got a question?
Like you said, it looks like the green part, that was the most green part.
Yeah, this is the incoming stuff. The outgoing stuff goes out. at this point, we can fast forward, because you get the idea. Let's fast forward where we look at the inbox. So there's the message that came in. You remember back when we started, there were no messages in this area, and this message determined the. So you see the breakdown here, where we made contact, and it's receiving, size, dates, times, all this type of stuff. And in the inbox, that message is there. So that message that I received is a result of what's called WinLink Wednesday. And there's a number of groups around the country that host WinLink Wednesday. And I just happen to participate in our Ohio group. And the reason that's important is you don't want to come to a session like this and say, yeah, okay, we sat through the WinLink instructional setting, and now I know how to do it. You need to be able to go back and do it on a regular basis, where if you really did have to do it in some type of an important situation that you're familiar with. A few weeks ago, we were doing the Monday night FL Digi transmission, and the question came up of, what's a 213 form? Well, within FL Digi as well as WinLink, there is a wide variety of incident command forms. And in the government business, you're expected to use those in emergency situations. It's not super critical until you go to ask for funding reimbursement. Obviously, amateur radio folks don't get any of that. But if there's a big natural disaster, a big tornado comes through an area, and the governor declares it a disaster area, there's some funding that the county or whatever government entity can get in replacement. But they have to have the proper documentation on the proper forms. So these incident command forms are what you use. So when you send, actually, I'm not going to get into every little nuance of FL Digi or WinLink, but when you're sending these forms, what happens is you'll click on, slide it back to the regular email window.
Yeah, like your
Or
inbox.
the inbox, yeah. Okay, right there. So if I wanted to use a form such as a 213, what I'm going to do is I would click on where it says message, and then it's going to give me the opportunity to compose the message. Now, once you have a WinLink account, like in my case, if you wanted to send me a message on WinLink, you just type in my call sign. There's nothing more. You just type the call sign, and it'll come to my WinLink account. But let's say you wanted to send me a message with a incident command form attached. You say compose, type my call sign, and then you go into where it says attachments, and then it gives you this drop-down box of all these forms. You'll fill out the form. It'll look like an actual real 213, for example, form. Then you attach it to the email, and what happens is just the words that you fill out will appear on your screen, not the form itself, just the words. But when I open it on the other side, because I'm an amateur radio operator using WinLink, voila, the whole form is there. And if I was at a location where I need to print that out, provide it to somebody in EOC somewhere, I've got that type of thing to do. So that's, I don't want to say it's an advanced thing, it's just a different thing. For the most part, this is just sending email. But you can send attachments, you can attach these forms, just similar to what you do in the FL Digi format. Again, there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm just showing you the way it's simple for me. I recommend if you're interested in this to start this way and then expand your horizons. from there. With the WinLink Wednesday, this way you kind of keep your hand in it. Usually the messages, like these are all the people right here. They're involved in WinLink Wednesday. And if you just go down there, you'll see like where I'm located at. Usually they're going to ask for your location. It might ask for like a weather report, something like this. But it's a way to keep your hand in it, because again, if you just do it once and you haven't done it for 3 years, you're gonna be one of these guys that say, well, I know there's a way to do this, but that doesn't get done. But this is a way, or we could send them to ourselves. I mean, once you get it, sometimes I copy other people's just regular email. So you'll get an email that'll say it came from a WinLink account, because you don't just have to send them to other WinLink. WinLink Wednesday, or practice sending them to yourself, however. That's really what it had. Again, I talked about 7300s, because that's people that were asking about this rating they have. You can do this with any HF radio. You just have to have a sound card. So if your radio doesn't have a sound card built in, like some of the Icon radios do, we use a signal link. Do the settings accordingly. Any other questions? Try to keep it basic, because I'm basic.
There's no way somebody could send an email from a regular email address to your WinLink account?
Yes, yeah, sure, you can do that, absolutely, yeah. That goes back into the, you don't have to have an operator on both sides, so yeah, people can send it. In my case, it's my call sign at winlink.org, I think is what it is. I don't do that, but yeah.
So it would just sit there in some sort of buffer until you log on.
Yes, yeah, I wouldn't get any notification. This is really for that situation where you're flying across a tropical island and your plane crashes, and you happen to have your 7300, a laptop and a battery and an antenna, and now you can send for help. If Gilligan had this back in the day, they'd have been rescued.
They've been rescued quicker. What antenna do you use?
My antenna at home is a NFED halfway, about 130 something across the yard type of thing. But I've sent it with much less antennas. But if I'm just at home and want to do.
Have you ever sent it to the Justice Center?
No. I've not.
I
I can, I will, if I can do that anytime I have. But
If you ever decide to do that, give me a call. Yeah, like.
I actually, I don't remember how far away it was, but I actually did, I have just one of these like 20-foot fishing pole type things. And I had about a 33-foot piece of bell wire that you use for your doorbell hooked into the 705, and I sent one to my backyard, just screwing around. But I don't remember how far away that was. It went several hundred miles. And it worked. I'll send one.
The Marine radio uses it all the time.
Pardon?
The Marine radio operators use it all there.
I think that's where it kind of got its start.
I know a lot of Kenwood people that they have Kenwoods. That's how they do their email.
And when the reason I included those sessions that didn't work is I want you to know it. That's how it is. I mean, that's real world. Rather than get up here and go, hey, watch this, 5 watts, maybe contact Hawaii first try. No, it's not like that, but you can get it out.
Yeah, you're sending to a server, right? I mean, these people have got something that's on, whether it's manned or not. How widespread are they globally as opposed to just continental? You haven't tried that.
They're around the world, Gary.
Yeah.
If you get on WinLink's, I think WinLink's website, you can look at maps and stuff as far as, it's pretty, quite.
It's a wide, it's not, yeah, it's a worldwide type of thing, but I'm not in sport. I mean, I'm a guy, I don't know.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I just was curious. I've been watching a lot of the around the world balloons here lately. And, you know, some areas are kind of sparsely populated, depending on what mode they're using for tracking. I didn't know whether this was the same way or not.
I think there's a peer-to-peer
There is.
method you could do it, but both hands would have to be.
It's peer-to-peer, and I've not done that. There is a peer-to-peer, and that, you do that over there in that corner where it says HF link. I don't believe it's necessarily like keyboard to keyboard like we're doing this back and forth, but you can eliminate the server part of things. I just don't know how well, because you know, if you don't get to the right server, you just pick another one. If you don't get to the person you want to do, I don't have any experience with that.
Thank you.
And like I said, when I talk to you, if I don't know, I'll tell you. I like to say, if I tell you it's not working, that's not work too. Any other questions? All right, sorry that it didn't come across right last time, but this time.
Wasn't your fault.
We tried, I tried to write these instructions down as specifically as I could, so those of you that have 705 or 7300, this should work. If you have a different radio, you just have to adopt a few places that match up with the app. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this device manager here is one of the things, one of your slides, I think you're trying to show.
Yep, it is.
So if you, in Windows, I don't know what it is on Mac, but if you go to device manager, I just search it here. And then somewhere will show up your, where's that anybody?
Universal serial bus control.
Doug, did you find, I should have asked this question earlier, but
Next one.
did you find having the remote operating software COM port selections is going to interfere with this?
No.
One of them where you open.
In fact, that's the way I typically do it with the 705.
Remotely?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Yeah, let me talk to that real quick here. I'm not going to drag this out. But the 705 radio has built-in Wi-Fi. So what I'm able to do, I have a Microsoft Surface tablet, like that one over there, and I connect that tablet to that radio. And I don't have to use any wires. I mean, the COM port situation is what it is. So I can have the radio over there, I can have the laptop over here, no wires in between, and do all of this with the 705. With my 7300, I use a USB cable to connect it because I don't have the Wi-Fi set up with the 7300. But yeah, I can have the radio in my basement, be in the upstairs of the house, use the laptop and do this. I normally like to do it where I can watch the radio because otherwise you're kind of flying blind. You know, if the SWR gets crazy and you don't notice it on the screen, or if it's just not connecting, what's going on. But that is a handy feature, having the ICOM's remote software combined with that radio. But I don't, what I try not to do when I'm talking to people is say, well, you have to have all this stuff. You don't have to have all this stuff. You have to have some free software. You have to have an HF radio with a sound card. Doesn't have to be an ICOM, doesn't have to be a Kenwood. You can do this with any HF radio for not a lot of money. Again, software is free. You just have to have a sound card and know how to make it.
I used to send one link with my old Drake TR7 and a signal link pretty easily.
That's it.
Cool. Thank you.
Again.
Again, if I can get the officers to get together here for just a little bit. Aaron, that'll include you.
You don't need a ride.
Nope. My ride is here. Sorry.